喂，Hello，1点呢，刚亮龙回来。
那个电影公司，看看这个电影公司，我的 YouTube
什么电影
有直播。
YouTube 直播，YouTube 直播，在哪里？
这个是同一个公司做的。
你看到直播啊？
啊，
哦，有，同一个公司。
这个是电影公司。你等一下看他的游戏画面。
Under the visionary leadership of Emperor Zelophus, we have become a proud and powerful nation. It is time to rise up, grasp our future, and seek our destiny among the stars. Imagine the future that we can build. We shall construct great fleets, send them out to make great discoveries, and through their conquests, secure our place in this rich galaxy. We will discover new sciences and new life. We will greet new peoples and turn
这
them
还好，
into
他的
new
预告片就
patriots.
是
Together, we shall leave our mark on history. For together, we can become
这啥？
anything our hearts desire.
是那个入场影
Whatever
片。
the cost, whatever the effort, let us not shy away from the
这跟
greatness
文明6的风格
that
很
is
像，
our birthright.
啊？有吗？
跟文明6的风格，画的风格不像啊，但是都是那个 style。
哪有？
就是那个背景的音效啊，对。
Filter 是什么东西？
哎，你有这个游戏哦？
对啊。哦，这应该是他的新资料片。
It is a time of great peace and prosperity for the empire.
但我觉得他字体好
Usurpers
丑
have。been vanquished, disagreements resolved, wars
他字体应该用更好一点的吧？这个有点阳春的感觉，
is
有
truly
点中文
united.
新器名的感觉。
Now is the time for your great nation.
差不多要上床喽。
太杂了吧？
啊，
你看它的科技树，它是属于跟那个就是超越地球那个有点像
圆
的。
形的，圆形的好复杂哦。
然后嘞，等一下，它到底要我干嘛？太复杂了吧？哦，他是参议会嘞，他每过几回合会做20回合会做选举。
嗯，
没有啊，他叫我点这里，但是自己不能买啊，这是出 bug 了吗？你找得到吗？你找得到到底要按哪里吗？我在 tutorial 但是完全卡住了。
我不知道哎，你随便按按看啊。
他 highlight 这里，但是我不能按啊。
你看有没有什么教学吧？
我觉得这是出 bug，他可能每次更新，哪一次更新之后把第一阶科技的那个需求buy out 需求调高，然后结果他 tutorial 也没有调高，所以他就说你如果有 enough reserves you can buy out by using influence， 但是我的 influence 现在是，但是 influence 现在是0啊，还是我打叉？
嗯，
但是这是他要终止啊，但是我不要，我要看那个啊教学啊。
你看有没有网络上面的影片？
机密我还蛮。那你有？
随便让看看。
他就叫我点科技，然后点科技就进来这边，然后叫我选，然后就说如果你有足够的那个内容的话，你可以用那个 Influence Bio 科技，但是我就没有啊，那我现在要干嘛？他又不讲。
不然你跳出去啊。全部都不够。
重来一次吗？我怕我刚刚不小心弄到什么东西。
我要上床了。今天要上床早点睡，明天他应该会来收走我的东西。
谁？
明天 Apple 啊，应该会来收走我的配件，就是笔跟耳机。然后平板要等到礼拜5。
Welcome one, welcome all.
好啊。
Let's go with. So the music here is pretty good. Welcome. I am Bridger, and today we're taking a look at Endless Space 2. You may have heard of games by this developer before. Endless Space was the first one that I heard from these guys, and Endless Space 2 is out now, and it's basically Endless Space 1 plus Endless Legends smashed together. So let's take a look at it. It'll be partly review, partly guide to help new people understand the game, and partly playthrough. So first off, I'm going to be activating these 3 mods because I like them. Now, the G2G balance mod, Amplitude Studios is the company that made the game, and this is the mod where they put their balance changes that they're thinking of adding into future patches for people to test out, and frankly, they need a lot of help. The base game has had quite a few patches so far, and they fixed a lot of the very overpowered techs or abilities or strategies, and they're still working on it. But this is their next attempt at balancing various mechanics in the game. Anomaly immersion basically makes it so that you won't have a weird monsoon anomaly on a desert planet, for example. That's kind of the only thing that changes. There's a few things like that make it, so anomalies are a little bit weird. And then this just makes everything look kind of interesting color-wise. So let's jump into it here. Endless Space 2 is a 4X space strategy game, as you probably can tell, of explore, expand, exploit, exterminate. Explore, exploit, expand, exterminate. I never remember which order those are in. Exterminate's at the end, though. So, here we are. I do want to point out one quick thing. This UI is fantastic, by the way. And one of the things that I do highly suggest is you jump in here and change the tooltip, which I think defaults to like... oh, no, here it is. Okay, the tooltip delay can be whatever you want. The progressive tooltip, I'll turn this down to probably 0.7. And that, 0.6. I like having more information here. So, when you go to make your game, you got a bunch of different options here. And to be honest, I suggest one of a few specific races for new players because they all... A lot of them have very unique and maybe confusing mechanics if you're brand new to the rest of the game, whereas the following that I'm going to give to you are all fairly straightforward and feel similar to a lot of other races in other games. So the United Empire is the first one that I would suggest. It is your typical space tyrant situation, and their bonus is real easy. It's just whenever you produce stuff with your hammers equivalent if you're from Civilization, then you get some extra influence. Hey, that's cool. And that's it. You start start with some other cool stuff, and you can colonize more things before running into unhappiness problems. So you don't have to. This is all like passive stuff. You don't have to actively worry about what these bonuses are. They'll just help you no matter what, right? Okay. So that's why I recommend the United Empire. They're still really fun to play. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they are not cool. I think they are great for new players, and they're probably my preferred playstyle as well, because they are all about being a space tyrant and conquering other peoples and doing whatever you want and expanding in the galaxy. Now, maybe you don't like the whole military aspect, but you also want something that's not too dissimilar from other games. The Lumeris are basically the space mob. They're like the mafia, right? They are all about money and business. It's all about business. And their bonuses, basically, they get to use dust to do things instead of influence or colony ships, which is pretty cool and real easy to understand. Like, oh, hey, this stuff costs dust instead of other stuff. So, yeah, these guys are fairly easy and straightforward to play as well. So I would recommend one of those two. United Empire if you want a more combat focus, and Lumeris maybe if you want a more economy and growth focus. So we're going to pick the United Empire, and we're going to jump into it. There's a couple of sub-menus here which can be very valuable. I'm going to have the game difficulty on hard for myself. Time management, great for multiplayer options. Here you can set turn timers that are only on, either all players have to do this much and then you get extra per stage or whatever, or you can just say, okay, the last player has a turn timer, so once everybody else is ready up except for one player on a given turn, then they get 45 more seconds. There's a bunch of different options here for turn timer. Really like the multiplayer opportunities. Animation speed, I put it on times 2. This is for how fast the animations are for like ships moving around and things like that. But anyway, I leave most of this on default. But that gets us to the beginning of describing the game. And I don't have the chat open, so nobody can respond to me, and that's no good, so we'll pull that up for you. Right now, let's talk about the victory conditions. The victory conditions in this game are similar to most other games that you have probably played, including Civilization and Stellaris and other things like that. So score victory, yeah, if the game ends a certain number of turns, and whoever has the most score wins. Not going to happen most of the time, because one of these other victory conditions is going to trigger. Either you capture all the enemy's capitals, just like in Civ 5 or 6, or if you bring a certain percentage of star systems under your control. But you can't get that last capital, you'll still win if you get enough, right? And then, there we go. And then a science victory is you have to research all 4 victory technologies to win, and those cost a lot of science. And while you're doing that, of course, you're probably not getting other types of technologies, which are valuable to protect you from encroaching enemies or people working for economic victory. Economic victory is just the most dust, which is the money, the gold, whatever you want to call it, over the course of the game. If you can generate enough of it, you can win. So this is like generate as much science, generate as much dust. I think this is easier to learn than Endless Legend. Thanks, Fish Food Master. I believe it's easier to learn than Endless Legend, in part because the Space 4X elements share more in common with other games you have probably played, like Galciv, Master of Orion, Stellaris, any other Space 4X games are probably similar. Endless Legend did some very interesting things with the development of cities and such, as well as the heroes and the tactical battle system, which was a little bit beyond the pale, but I really liked it for a lot of the things that it did. And finally, the Wonder Victory is actually like build as many production points as possible in a number of your systems. So it's like this is a victory focused on production, economic dust production, science production, and conquest. So we're going to leave all those on, just move on to the game. There are a couple other settings that I mentioned. Constellations are the star systems that are connected at the very beginning of the game by travel routes. I call them jump points. I'm not sure what they actually call them in this universe, but that is, if you have the galaxy as unique, every single system in the game will be connected to every other system. It might just take a couple of other jumps to get there, but there will be connections. You can see the connections in the back here by those lines. Few means that some constellations, groups of star systems that are connected by lines, will not get you connected directly to the rest of the star systems until you research a certain technology to get there. So I leave it on few. It makes the map a little bit more interesting, I think. Now we're gonna get a cool intro, and I think they did a fantastic job with these intros, especially the voice acting. Of all of them, I like this one, and the Lumeris intro is also fantastic. It definitely gives a Godfather
Under the
feel.
visionary leadership of Emperor Zelivus, we have become a proud and powerful nation. It is time to rise up, grasp our future, and seek our destiny among the stars. Imagine the future that we can build.
Which are your notifications for the turn. Sometimes they'll probably, like, reality is it's like, it's a class-based society where the upper class believe in this, version of reality with the propaganda thing, but really, life's not as great as they portray. Okay, so here we are. First, let's just take a look. We got some notifications on the right-hand side of the screen, and I'm going to try to jump through this stuff as brief as possible because nobody likes over-explaining stuff. So it does feel a little bit North Korean, doesn't it? But much more well-produced, I would imagine. So when every turn finishes, you'll see a list of things pop up on the right here, which are your notifications for the turn. Sometimes they'll pop up in the actual middle of the screen, sometimes not. So let's go through these one at a time real quick. We gained a new hero. I'm going to talk about them later, so let's put that aside for now. This is just a little intro for your faction. Hey, look, here's your guy. Here's your little. This is your motivation, right? What's my motivation? There's your motivation right here. If you click this button, you get more information about your faction and the power. You get more influence than normal, and you can use that influence to block all kinds of things from the other factions in the game. So that's pretty cool. It also tells you about the other things that you have going on for you here, which again, mostly passive. We'll talk about them when it becomes necessary. So at the beginning of the game, you learn about a couple of resources, luxury resources that are available to you. I should point out, by the way, this checkbox up here, if it's on, it means at the beginning of every turn, if this type of window would normally go over the right here, it would instead pop straight up and be in your face. Most of those you just want to leave on default, or if you don't like something popping up, you can turn it off there. You can also scroll through these things on the right with this button in the top here. This button will go through all of the things on the right. Now, another cool thing, because this company, Amplitude, makes the most beautiful and functional UI systems ever. Anytime you're in any menu, right-click to get out of it. Brilliant. Now it minimizes in this case, so you can right-click on the right and go away. But let's just say I go to this menu, and then I would open up another menu. If I want to go back to the previous one, right-click. If I want to go back to this, right-click. Just right-click. No matter which menu you're in, you go back and you right-click. If you go to this menu, and then I go to inspect, and then I go to this, right, and I'm back where I started. You don't have to find the back button somewhere in the bottom corner where it's different in every game. It's beautiful, and I wish more games would use it, because nobody uses a right-click menu in their strategy games. Right-click is completely ignored and unused. Make it your back button, rant over. Okay, so let's first explain the economy of the game, because you start out with your one system here, and you can see we're in a sort of spiral galaxy. I think I left it on random, but it looks like we're in a spiral galaxy in this case, which means you're more likely, it looks like a two-armed spiral galaxy you can see, sometimes even more or less. We're most likely going to find star connections along these arms, much less likely to find the star connections in the middle here. That's what the galaxy design implies. So what's interesting here is you can see diplomacy scan versus trade scan versus economy scan. We got a couple of different levels of, and this is by the way space in the main button lets you zoom in, and you can see the things on the left kind of change depending on how far out you're zoomed, and those are really cool. We'll get to them when they make more sense. Right now, we've only got a single system under our control. We've got a nice blue star system here, and we can hover over it to get a bunch of details in the bottom left. Let's zoom in a little more when you click on it. So, in Endless Space 2, and in the previous Endless Legend, you have a concept known as FIDSI, F-I-D-S-I, and that is food, industry, dust, science, and influence. These 5 resources are what you're going to be managing throughout the game. I should point out there's one more resource, manpower, that you can see at the top of the screen here, and another piece of manpower can be seen here. And I'm going to talk more about manpower later when we go over the military stuff, but mostly, you're looking at these 5 resources. That's what gets produced on your planets. So if we take a look at this planet, we can hover over it and learn this is a Terran planet. It is temperate and fertile. Those are keywords that might have some effect, but the tooltip system in this game is fantastic. If you hover over temperate, it says, oh, it offers conditions, blah, blah, blah. Because there's no other items in this flavor text, you can know that there's nothing you inherently gain from this keyword temperate. And what's more is to help keep the UI nice and clear, if you're not hovering over that planet, temperate is simply represented by this nice little sun, and fertile is represented by this fish, and sterile is represented by this fish, and cold is represented by this. So you can easily look at this and understand the iconography after a few games, because when you hover over it, you can easily see what they are. Again, nothing inherently gained by the word temperate or fertile. However, I will show you exactly, here we are. This is what's called a system improvement. You can think of these like buildings in Civilization, the Civilization series, right? So in these guys, this building in particular, it produces plus 10 industry, that's like your hammers, per planet, period. So each planet that's colonized in the system will get plus 10. If we were to colonize all 4 of these planets, we get 40. Now, each of these planets that is colonized and also fertile gives us an extra 10, and each planet that also has the temperate keyword gives us an extra 10. So if we were to build this, we would immediately get 30, because this is a planet, it's fertile, and it's temperate. If we then also colonize the Boreal, we get another 10 for it being another planet, and another 10 for it being fertile, etc., etc. You get the picture. So cold planets, good for science. Hot are good for production. Sterile are good for dust and dust collection. In this universe, dust is this substance that's scattered across the galaxy on planets, and on Terran-type planets, a lot of seasons and weather, the dust sort of gets spread out amongst the planets by the weather, and it's very hard to collect, so you don't get a lot of it. Whereas on a sterile planet, where there's rare life and not much rain or anything like that, you get collections of dust that can be easily mined and harvested and used as money. So, first, let's examine how these things produce the food, the industry, etc., etc. If we hit the space bar, or in my case it's the tab button, that opens up the system management scan. So I click on that, or you hit the space bar on your game, and you can see this shows us how much of each resource the planets will produce per population point. So on our little homeworld here, each population point produces 8 food, 4 industry, 6 dust, and 4 science. And if we go back here, you can see we have 3 population points, and if they're all producing 8 food, oh bingo, we get 24 food. And if we get, 4 times 4 times 3 rather, we get 12, etc., etc. Now this 2 influence here, well, you look at that, we didn't actually make any influence inherently on the planet by the population production. Instead, this says it's plus 2 from, and then it gives us a weird symbol. Well, that symbol is actually this particular race, the Imperials themselves. It actually looks weird when it's like this, but that symbol right there is the same as this little symbol on this guy here that I'm dragging around. So this race of peoples, our race, the Imperials, for each population point on a planet, that planet produces 1 influence. This is another sub-race that we have living on our planet, and each of them produce extra manpower. That's what the person with the ball symbol is. It's manpower production. Specifically, it's garrison production on the planet here. That's what the person plus little ball, I think is actually supposed to be a planet. So that's garrisoned manpower, which acts as your defense should the planet be invaded. So that's how you can think of that resource there. So you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 total slots on this planet. And it's important to understand, and thanks to the nice tooltip systems, we can see that these red slots here will start generating unhappiness if they get filled up. So ideally, when we're growing this system, we want to get 2 more slots filled up, and then we want to colonize a new planet and have people grow on that one so that we don't get the negative penalty. Eventually, the whole system is going to be colonized, and we'll have to build buildings like the infinite supermarkets to increase happiness in other ways. So that is the basic production of things on this menu. You can also see on the left, we get the name, which we can click on if we wanted to change it. Dorado, El Dorado. Get it right. So we can see that. You can see right now, it costs 20 dust to upkeep, to pay, to keep the buildings in this system going. If we click on the button next to that, you can see all the constructions that have already been built. In this case, we have the colony base. Every single system that you colonize gets a colony base. So it always starts by default at plus 50 approval, which is straight in the middle. 100 is the best, 0 is the worst. And it starts with an extra juice of food, production, influence, and it converts 10% of your food to manpower automatically. So every planet you ever colonize does that. You can increase that amount if you are being more militaristic and you need it. The Galactic HQ is the one thing that starts in your very capital. You can't ever make another one of these, but it gives you extra dust and science to get you kickstarted and influence at the very beginning of the game. And we cannot scrap these, so we can't use this button. But if we were to build more of these things, they would show up in here. So let's hover over drone networks. This produces 10 food and 10 production, which are great things when you're trying to escape from being only a one planet species. We need food for growth and we need production to get more of these buildings built. So I always start with drone networks. Another great one to start with is cerebral reality because it gets you some science, which is good, and it gets you dust, and it does not cost any extra dust to upkeep. Drone networks has an upkeep cost of 2 dust, which is not a lot, but we're only making 28, period, over the course of the of everything we have. And so an extra 2 it's not an insignificant amount. So we're gonna start with drone networks and we'll come back. Now you'll notice this faction, one of their special abilities is that they can buy out, as in complete, the production of buildings with influence. This is a special power of this faction. Other factions don't get to do this. Kind of cool. Influence is used for a lot of things. This faction builds extra influence thanks to their racial power and thanks to the other production situation. But anyway, this is going to take us 5 turns. We can see it's going to give us these things. It's going to cost 160 industry. We're doing 37 industry a turn. It does the math, says 5. Boom. And because we have the special Emperor's Willpower, we can click this, it will convert 20% of that industry into influence for us, which is what the plus 16 star means in the bottom corner. All right, let's see. Is there anything else on this left side we can talk about real quick? Well, this automation policy, if you have so many systems that you don't want to deal with building all the things in them, you can say a governor, focus on food for this one, or focus on dust for this one, or focus on science for this system. And it will go and build the appropriate buildings and assign the people to the appropriate planets, etc. I don't like to automate unless I get really big, so we can ignore that. Underneath that, you can see our population information. It says we have 3 people in this system. 3 population points, and in 7 turns we're going to get a new population, and it's going to be of the type Imperial. The type that you're going to get is randomly chosen as soon as you're ready for a new population point. So as soon as we finish getting this Imperial, it will decide, do you get an Imperial or do you get a Hisho? And it also tells you that they are content, and it says that being content has no effect. If your people are really happy, it will produce more. What you get is 3 people, etc. I don't like to automate unless I get really big, so we can ignore that. Underneath that, you can see our population information. It says we have 3 people in this system, 3 population points, and in 7 turns we're going to get a new population, and it's going to be of the type Imperial. The type that you're going to get is randomly chosen as soon as you're ready for a new population point. So as soon as we finish getting this Imperial, it will decide, do you get an Imperial or do you get a Hisho? And it also tells you that they are content, and it says that being content has no effect. If your people are really happy, it will produce more food and influence. If they're not, it'll produce less. Down here is all about the political system, which we're going to get into later. Finally, we have the governor, and we're going to pick the hero that we started the game with as our governor. First, let's take a quick look at him and determine what he does. He can be assigned to a fleet in which he gets his own personal hero ship to be essentially part of that fleet. Or he can be assigned to a system as a governor in which he provides certain bonuses as a governor. His starting skills are plus 5% production on the system and plus 5% hull plating absorption if he's assigned to a fleet. So we're going to assign him to our capital system for now because his hull plating isn't going to be terribly valuable while we're exploring. It might be valuable later if we have to fight somebody. So we're going to go, again, right click to go back, and we're going to click him and confirm. He is now a level 1 hero and he is governing this system. Now he will level up over time and we'll be able to spend skill points to level him up in these different categories, and we'll look at that later. He's also costing us, by the way, 2 dust per turn. So it is costing us to use him, and higher level heroes cost more dust, and we can get more heroes, and we'll get to that later. Okay, we're basically done looking at this for our first turn. Now, there's one other bit that we're going to need to take a quick look at before we hit the next turn button, and that is we start the game with a settler and a patrol. This is a scout. You can tell it's a scout because it's got the little eyeglass, magnifying glass, and you can tell this is a settler because it has a little flag. Now, we've got a couple different options. We could immediately settle, I believe, this Boreal colony with this settler. No, won't let us do that. That was something we used to be able to do because the system's already colonized. You can't do that anymore. Old game. Okay, so we're going to need to go exploring. Now, these ships are currently in 2 different fleets down here. You can see we've got 1 fleet here with 5 movement points. That's what the arrow means. And another fleet with 6 movement points. The patrol ship has 6 movement points. You can also see that it is currently using 1 of 4 command points in that fleet. So we can combine these 2 fleets if we wanted to. We click one and then control click the other or shift click and you get merge. Now it's the same vessels together and they can move as a fleet. Whenever you fight a battle, it's fleet versus fleet. If you have 4 fleets in the area, it doesn't matter. Only one of them's fighting at a time. That's all you have the logistical capacity for. So that's how this works. But we're going to split them up again. So we click on one of these and say we're going to create a new fleet. And you can see there's a bunch of other options here. Select all, assign a new hero, heal them, scrap them, etc. So we split them out again. Another option you can do is disband them, which sends them to the hangar. So now instead of being their own fleets, they're now in this hangar, and you get access to that hangar by clicking on the little hangar icon here, and we can, again, create fleets we want. The advantage of keeping things in the hangar is generally, I believe, it requires no upkeep to do that. That's how it was in the previous games as well. Anyway, I haven't checked it yet for this one. But in the beginning of the game, it's relatively harmless to just send your exploration and your settler ship out into the galaxy to find out what's going on. So that's what we're going to do. The last thing we need to do is take a quick look at technology, and I'm just going to pick one for us, and then head back and move on. And we're going to come back to technology soon, so stand by. Another cool thing we can see on this map is that this system has titanium and Hyperium. Those are 2 of the 6 strategic resources in the game, strategic resources in the vein of Civ 5, like iron or horses. You need them in order to build specific buildings and military modules for your ships. So what that means is if we zoom in a little closer here, you can see, Eldorado 3 has a poor deposit of titanium. It only gives us 1 titanium per turn. And it has a average deposit of Hyperium. And you can also see in the bottom left that these just being on this planet mean that every population point on the planet gives us an extra science and an extra industry. So that makes this planet extra good. Moving on. We've already sent our ships out. We hit the turn button. However, they're not moved yet until we tell ships to execute their planned moves, which they will automatically do at the end of the turn if you don't press that button. We found a new minor civilization. So let's take a quick look. So we discovered this system over here, and we discovered this system over here, which is a minor civilization. This is a concept taken from Endless Legend, and it's also similar to the city-states of Civilization 5. Although in this game, you can, like in Endless Legend, get them to assimilate into your empire, and they will become de facto the same as your controlled areas, unlike Civ 5. Becoming their allies makes them part of your empire. So in order to interact with them, we click on their little icon here, and we can see that, okay, this is the Pilgrims. They, like, they typically produce more dust than other factions. That's their racial bonus, and they have this faction trait, +5 per anomalies on colonized planet systems. That's kind of cool. Okay, their effect on planets, if they're there, is this. Good. Their political output is this. Great. Our current things that we can do with them is neutral. Now, how you can interact with them is, of course, on the right-hand side. If you want to conquer them, you have to spend some influence to do it. That's kind of like influence you can think of as political power and diplomatic power combined. So you have to sway the folks back home and say, hey, we need to go to war to do this. I need the support of my military generals. I need the support of these guys, and it's going to cost me some influence in order to start this war. And if you conquer them, then they will act just like any other planet that you've conquered. Or you can praise them for a while and get them to like you. If you get them to like you by praising them, then they will start giving you trade in the form of dust and science, which is great. And if you want their faction power, then you can use this option down here, which requires us to pay some luxury resources, which we don't have. And if you want to assimilate them peacefully, you can assist them by giving them asking for a quest. And they will give you a quest. If you complete it, they just, boom, they join your faction without declaring war. Cool. What else did we learn? Well, you can see this little ping, right? Every couple of seconds, there's a little ping coming from one of these planets. The brown one, by the way, that's filled in means that it's colonized by this brown faction. The non-colored in means it's not colonized and not colonizable. If we go back and look here, the white circle means it's colonizable with our current level of technology, but not colonized. If it was colonized, it would be blue. The blue with a circle around it means it's a unique planet. It's unique because it's our capital. And over here you can see 2 empty planets because we don't know how to colonize those types of planets. So let's go back to this here. This means, and if we zoom in here, we're going to get a nice little, oh yes, the data, it comes up. And it tells us information. We have an ice planet here. You can click to move through them a little faster. And here we go. You only see that the first time you click on it, you can go right through. So you can see that these guys are on the ice planet. They've colonized it, and it's producing this much stuff. Now, also, we can see that, oh, this medium Arctic planet has a little symbol here. If we hover over it, oh, it's a long season, it's an anomaly, and it's a detrimental one. Detrimental ones always are in this, like, reddish-brownish color. And it's giving us those effects, minus dust, minus food. Ugh, that's bad. And if we look over here, we see a positive effect, a positive anomaly, because it is green. And it gives +4 science per person, and it's a huge planet. If we have a huge, we can see its maximum population is 6, and the per-person output is 16 science, 4 dust. That's it. No food. Well, that's kind of problematic, but that's a lot of science. This area, because it has 3 cold planets, is going to be amazing for science generation. Which you can kind of see, this little bar here gives you a bar graph, gives you a general idea of what these planets are good for. Lastly, we have an unexplored and unknown curiosity. In this case, this curiosity type is ruins. You might also see subterranean, atmospheric, life, etc. There's, I think, 4 or 5 different types. Now, if we controlled this planet, we could queue up an exploration of this curiosity as a building type. So if we were back in our own thing here and there was a curiosity, which actually there is a curiosity here, it's a subterranean curiosity, but it's currently locked because we don't have the technology to explore it yet properly. But if we did, we could click on this and it would appear down here like a building and we just spend our industry to look into it. But because we are not in control of this system, we can still explore it because we have a scout here. So we can click on this and he will use one of the 2 probes that he has currently in his arsenal. You see 2 of 2 at the bottom there with the probes. We're going to click on that and find out what do we find. These are like goody huts in Civilization. Oh, the analytical engine, a unique dust improvement. And I'm not sure exactly what it does, but it's now, oh, it's on the planet. It's not something we can build. Is it? Or maybe it is. Yeah, it says unique improvement. If that's something that shows up here. It is. Look at that. So we can build this. And what does it do? Can only be built once per empire. Cost, political impact, upkeep is 6. You know what? I think this is bugged. Because it does not appear that this does anything. Its effects are nothing. Utilize remote sensors, the engine somehow instantaneously extracts valuable dust production data from any explored curiosity sites. Supplementing dust production. Oh, okay. Well, I think the tooltip may be broken because it says it does nothing. All right, well, there you go. So, we've explored that. We've gained some little thing that we can maybe not use. Another thing you can use probes for is you can launch them. You can see there's a little slightly subtle texture here. When we send our scout, he has a large vision, so he cleared both areas on the side of this jump lane. But all of this area still is invisible to us. Invisible. I can't click here. I can't tell my scout, hey, go look in here. He can only go along jump lanes at the beginning of the game. But I can tell him to send a probe, hey, go down there. Now for 5 turns, that probe's going to go out in that direction, and we're going to reveal that. That might give us valuable information. Cool. Good to know. We'll send our scout deeper into the space in this direction on the next turn, and he's going to go that way. Meanwhile, we found this other planet, a small lava, very good for production. Hot planet's good for production. Arid planet, also hot, but also inhospitable. So we don't know how to properly build off of these, and we cannot probe them. We can't explore them because we don't have a scout ship here. So unfortunately, the mysteries of what's going on here will remain mysteries to us, and we'll send our settler ship down 1 more jump lane away from our homeworld. If we don't find a planet we can settle in this direction, let's send it back and send it down this lane. So there we go. End turn. Again, we can buy out this technology because we are this special faction. We can buy it out with influence. It looks like, oh, and we're going to the same place. So that's disappointing. But this is a system which does not have any colonizable planets. Instead, if you grow your influence ring, you see this blue ring that denotes my territory, if you grow that ring to encompass this system, then the system that encompassed it first gets plus 50 dust. Whew, that's a nice bonus. So if we were to get the Ying as allies, and they grew to encompass this system over time, then they would get that nice bonus applied to their system. Now, how do you grow this ring around your planets, your systems? Well, it's actually linked to the total influence production ever produced on that planet. So it's a running total on the system itself. So as this system produces more influence, it will grow. If you produce more influence faster by building specific buildings and specializations, then this circle grows faster. All right, and that allows you to encompass things like this. It also protects your territory and lets you see further, etc., etc., etc. So we're going to send our settler back over here, because currently there's nothing for him to settle in this direction. And you know what? I'm going to wait with my scout here one more turn, because the probe is going to, has one more turn. You see cooldown 1 turn. It means it's going to get a new probe stock in 1 turn. So I'm just going to wait 1 turn here, and then we'll get another probe, and we'll send it out into the galaxy to see what it finds. We'll send it down in that same direction to try to cover most of this area with the probes. And now we can send our scout back home and have our settler move through, and we're done. We're going to the next turn. Now, you can see that these 2 Hyperion... Oh, sorry. Here's our first quest. So there are a number of different quests that appear in the game. Some of them are solo quests just for you and your faction, and some of them are competitive multiplayer quests, achieve objectives that on the AI are competing to do something, and sometimes it's like a team effort where you choose one side or the other, and then the teams try to achieve objectives that are 180 degrees opposite from the opposite team, and you have to might do some fighting. All right, so this is the story of what's happening to your Emperor guy here, and there's some really cool flavor in this. If you just click through this and look down at stuff on the bottom, you're missing a lot of cool stuff. So this is all about the fact that there's some faction planning a civil war, a coup against you, right? And it's partly because, let's see. Yeah, you think we're unsure. There was some major accident. It might have been an accident. Maybe it was planned sabotage. We don't know. And so we're going to try to find the perpetrator, and you're going to choose how you're going to find them. You're going to try to either do it by locating 10 curiosities. In that case, we'll get this, which is a plus 40% food on our outposts, which are our brand new colonies before they get upgraded to a full colony. They're called outposts. So that helps all of our colonies grow faster. Or if we can stockpile 600 dust, we get a free outpost in Traitor's Reach. I'm not sure where that is, but that might be interesting to find out. Or we can intimidate them. If we reach 800 manpower total in our empire, if you remember, I told you that manpower is accumulated on an empire-wide basis and an individual system basis for garrisons. Punisher drives is an empire improvement. That means we don't have to build a building. It's not a system improvement. It's an empire improvement. For the rest of the game, we get plus 10% damage on our ships. That's really good. But at the same time, I want to find out what this is, because I haven't ever seen that before. So we're going to do that and see what happens. Arriving, so that means we need to stock up 600. We're doing 26 a turn. It's going to take a while. So we'll see. Sending our ships home. Our scout is going to get here a little faster because he moves faster, if you recall. By the time he gets there, he's probably going to have some of his probes back. We might use them. There we go. Let's look in this general vicinity. You can see we're revealing that scattered backdrop. And that's it. Eldorado has finished constructions of the drone networks that we built earlier. Now they have an empty construction queue. I do usually like to follow up drone networks with Cerebral Reality, again, because it doesn't cost any upkeep. It actually produces dust for you. Another option in this case could be Xeno Industrial with Cerebral Reality, again, because it doesn't cost any upkeep. It actually produces dust for you. Another option in this case could be Xeno Industrial Infrastructure. It will help us build all other buildings and things faster. And because we're going to want to build a bunch of scouts and settlers, I'm going to build that first. So then I might build the Cerebral Reality. In fact, it'll build much faster once we have an 30 production. It's going to increase our production by about 40%. And we're about to get a new population point here next turn, which will give us more production as well as other things. All right, so we send away that probe. Let's send our scout this way, looking for other connections. This, by the way, is all part of one constellation. You can tell because of the connected jump points. Okay, so this is an important concept. We just finished researching a technology. And this menu tells us, hey, this is technology just finished. Here are the newly unlocked things. This symbol represents a system improvement. These are buildings. It kind of looks like buildings, right? There you go. So just like that other building we had that was giving us a lot of production, this one will give us a lot of science. It also allows us to colonize a new type of planet, tundra, instead of Mediterranean or Terran or something else. We can now colonize tundra. In addition, the bottom of the screen here shows us that we have some new options, and these are the ones suggested. But we're going to go to the technology screen because something else just happened, which is very important. Let's go up here to the military side. You can see that the technology wheel is separated into 4 branches: military, empire development, science and exploration, and economy and trade. We're going to take a look at the military one to begin with. You can see that within the military one, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tiers of research. The further you go out, the more expensive they get. Out here, it costs 6,000 to research one tech, and down here, it costs 152. So it ramps up. In addition, every technology you research makes every other technology more expensive. So you can't just say, I'm going to get everything eventually, because no, you're not. You're going to have to pick and choose. Some things, if you don't really need it, it might not be worth picking it up because it's just going to make everything else more expensive. So this lock indicates that we can't research anything in the second phase until we have researched at least one thing in the first phase. And if we look down here, you can see we have already researched this, and so all of tier 2 is unlocked. In fact, that's what this message was. It was saying, hey, you just unlocked a new technology stage. Not only does that give us access to 4 new possible technologies, it also unlocks all the things in this box. And it unlocks this diamond. These are 2 separate things. This box gives us access to 2 support modules that we can put on our ships. You can see in the bottom left. It unlocks this diamond. These are 2 technologies. It also unlocks all the things in this box. And it unlocks this diamond. These are 2 separate things. This box gives us access to 2 support modules that we can put on our ships. You can see in the bottom left, if we hover over them individually, you can see this is a support module that allows you to get 3 movement points instead of 2 on your ship drives. This is a module that allows you to get extra armor, well, extra health, and it also repairs your ship after each battle. So these are support modules. You get them simply by researching all the lock symbols from the previous stage. It's because the previous stage is always one lock to get into the next stage. We have already researched, we start the game with the research here and here. So we start the game already having access to the stuff in stage 2 here and stage 2 here. Now, what is this? These diamonds are essentially a race. Every diamond you see in every stage of all of these trees is a race. This diamond is be the first to successfully search 10 curiosities. If you succeed, you get 60 of that particular lecture resource. If we hover over this, it says it's deciduous trees. Deciduous trees. Yeah, I see what you did there. So if we research 10 curiosities first, we get this cool thing. So we've just unlocked a special race. Or be the first to have 3 unique star system improvements in your empire. If you do that, you get 75 titanium. Or be the first to build the Wonder, Endless Research Park, and Endless World. Once you unlock this stage, that wonder becomes buildable by you. And you can see in this case, it costs 2,300 industry, 10 titanium, and 10 Hyperium. And the red indicates that we don't have enough of those resources to build that thing. While we're talking about color, let's talk about how freaking... Remember how I said before the UI was brilliant? The UI is brilliant. The UI is brilliant. The color in this game is so well crafted. If you're looking for anything here, and you're trying to figure out what you need to do, God, my food is a problem. My planets aren't growing fast enough, or this system has a real problem with food. I need to figure out how to get more food. Well, food is green. If we go over here, oh, these things are green. Let's hover over this. Oh, hey, these are food improvements. And hey, look, these are food improvements. And hey, those military things are red. Oh yeah, these are military. Everything up here is military. And the color of this shield represents the color of the resource in question. So this is antimatter. Antimatter's colored this orange color. And so the shield is orange because it takes antimatter to build this shield. And hey, it takes titanium to build this shield and Hyperium. And I can tell you that, and I can rivet off what all of these things are because they're color coded, and it's great. It's amazing. Okay. Anyway. That having been said, this blue color is for colonization and movement on the Empire map, exploration basically. So this light blue is colonization, exploration of curiosities, and map movement. The yellow color is specializations for the planet. Actually, it's yellow-green, it's the food, so that's why. You'll see other ones that are different colors, but this is food, etc. Then you'll see other colors, like dark purple is anything to do with influence. Light pink is anything to do with happiness. Again, these colors here that the modules are colored are specific to those types of things. Yellow is dust related. This light orange is industrial related. It's brilliant. It really is. And then this blue is science. This darker blue is science. So yeah, I can't get over how awesome the coloring is in this game. And the symbols help you out even more, because if you're looking for a bonus that you don't have to build, this is an empire-wide bonus. Every planet gets +5 for the rest of the game. You don't have to build a building to make that happen. It's across your entire empire. This is a building. You have to build it in each of your systems in order for it to apply to that system. This is a unique building, which is why it has a little empire symbol in the background. It's amazing. Of your systems in order for planet gets +5 this game. And the symbols help you out even more. So yeah, I can't get over how awesome the coloring is in this game. And the symbols help you out even more, because if you're looking for a bonus that you don't have to build, this is an empire-wide bonus. Every planet gets +5 for the rest of the game. You don't have to build a building to make that happen. It's across your entire empire. This is a building. You have to build it in each of your systems in order for it to apply to that system. This is a unique building, which is why it has a little empire symbol in the background. It's amazing. Okay, so we talked about how you unlock these
我挂掉了，晚安。
things, and you unlock these races. There's a little empire symbol in the background. It's amazing. Okay, so we talked about how you unlock these things, and you unlock these races. These little things kind of look like they have in other games where you're required to do one before the other. Not true. You can click on this and research this even though you haven't researched rare earth foams. However, these indicate that it's a facilitating tech, and facilitating techs reduce the cost of the techs that come after. Brilliant. So, since this allows us to colonize Mediterranean, which is a pretty damn good planet, and not too rare, we're going to want to get rare earth foams eventually. So unless we really needed baryonic shielding, we'd probably want to get rare earth foams first to make baryonic shielding less expensive. Anyway, there are a few other symbols you might see here. Specifically, this symbol is our faction symbol, the Imperials, and that means that this tech is unique to the Imperial faction. For example, they get this carrier class, Zelvis class, hull design. That is unique to them. Other factions get their own version of the carrier class here. And if we look around, we can see, oh, hey, here's some other unique things for our empire compared to other empires. So that's kind of cool. Lastly, you might see this symbol. That means these are exclusive. You can choose one or the other here. And we'll look at those when we need to, but that's fairly straightforward. So that having been said, we now need to pick a new technology. Let's look at our board situation. We don't have to worry too much about unlocking the ability to colonize other planets in our home system because we do have this Boreal planet, which is colonizable from the beginning of the game by pretty much every faction. Everybody can do Terran and Boreal and Ocean, I think. There's like 3 that you can do from the beginning. So I don't think we need to worry too much about finding out how to colonize things. Now, we do know that this is the only other system we found so far, and it's got lava and arid, and it's not a fantastic system, the 2 small planets. And it's not going to be in contention by anybody else. It's like nobody else can reach this planet, so let's not worry about that right now. What could we worry about? What are we going to need to build? Well, we're going to need to explore a lot more around us. We can't explore any of this area around us because we don't have any hyperlanes there. Sorry, jump lanes. But there is a way to get around the galaxy without using jump lanes. And that is called warp drive. It allows you to move freely without using those jump lanes. It's a lot slower than the jump lanes, but it does allow you to move freely. In addition, this would also allow us to research higher level, deeper, darker secrets of the universe than we can right now, which is certainly a possibility. And what else do we get? Savannah. So these are 2 strong possibilities. But another one I like to grab